All right, so we've come up with our topic today, and a lot of these topics are coming from you guys indirectly because you don't even know the podcast exists at the recording of this, but they come in via emails from my YouTube channel or comments from my YouTube channel. And one of the most popular questions I get, and I don't go a week without getting this in some which way or form, is, hey, what bike should I get? And that's I have my progression I go through on, deciding what type of bike's going to work best for an individual or for myself for that matter. But ultimately, there's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. It's what bike's going to be best for you, and only you can make that decision. So I think what we want to do in today's video or in today's podcast is talk about what you need to consider when buying a motorcycle and all the different factors, and hopefully provide you guys with enough information, enough things to think about, that you make the right choice. Because it is, when I say an investment, I don't mean you're going to make any money off this. You're going to lose money because you're going to be riding it, hopefully, and it's going to go down in value, and you're going to spend a bunch of money. But that's not what it's about. It's about having fun. But you are making a financial investment in this, so the last thing you want to do is go out and spend $10,000 on a motorcycle that you never ride. I mean, that's ultimately what we're trying to help you guys out with. So normally I get, should I get this bike or this bike? But it doesn't really matter if it's should I get this bike or which bike should I get. It's all the same questions you're going to have to ask yourself. And fortunately, a lot of them are pretty easy to answer. It's just stuff people don't think about. So you want to hop into this? And
yeah, so it's really customizable, right? So those questions are stuff that you have to ask yourself because everyone's a little bit different in what you're looking for. And that's the most important question is what exactly you're going to do with that bike.
Yeah, and that's the thing. What's best for me is probably not going to be best for Brian unless we're doing similar types of riding and maybe your similar skill levels and those sorts of things. So asking your buddy about specific things about a bike is probably fine if he has it, but it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. That's why we have so many different brands, so many different types of bikes, all those sorts of things. So I think we'll and Brian kind of touched on that early on already, is what are you going to do with the bike? And that to me is always the first question. And to me, there's kind of two parts. What do you want to do with the bike, and what are you actually going to do with the bike? Because those are two different things.
Yep, yeah, exactly.
Like a lot of people have these aspirations that, well, I'm going to travel all around the country on it. Are you? I mean, I'm not saying you won't, but you got to be honest with yourself. Are you really buying that bike for the purpose of long distance riding?
Yeah, the best bike's the one that you're going to actually ride.
No, you're right about that. So does it make sense to go drop $25,000, $30,000 on a new Goldwing if you're really just going to go out and ride with your buddies for a couple hours every Saturday? I'm not saying it's still a bad choice. I'm just saying if your goal is I want to ride cross country, okay, now we've kind of narrowed down the field of the bike we're looking for. But if your goal with this bike or what you're planning on doing with this bike, which by the way, that's why I have so many different bikes, because there's no perfect bike for everything. It's perfect bike for that situation. If your thing is I just want to go out and rip on mountain roads on the weekends, okay, then we've narrowed it down. If your thing is I want to commute on the bike, we've narrowed it down. Or I want to go do some like trail riding,
and you might do multiple things, right? I think. If you make that list of saying, here's everything I'm going to use, I am going to commute on it, I am looking for some overnight trips, there's a bike out there that can kind of fit, most of that.
Yeah, and from the standpoint Brian and I are coming from, I mean, those of you that follow my YouTube channel for a while know that I like to go do, week-long, 2-week-long, 3-week-long motorcycle trips. That's my thing. I also like to do some off-road riding. I like to do some sport riding. I haven't done as much of it lately, but, do some track day type stuff, like those sorts of things. So that's why I've got a few different bikes to meet all those things. Brian, on the other hand, you do a lot of off-road riding. You do more, to be honest, he does more commuting on his bike than what I do. So, you're probably not commuting on a dual sport most days, but you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, exactly. you find the bike that's going to work best for you.
Yeah, and I found, I'm currently riding a Yamaha FJR, and it does everything I kind of need. It's perfect for commuting, fitting my laptop and everything that I need for the workday, and then it's also great for when my wife and I take a overnight trip.
Yeah, so it kind of meets what your goals are, and that bike's still sporty enough that if you want to go out and do, some twisties,
yep.
It's a little bit heavier. I mean, it's not a sport bike, but
it'll do the job.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the first question. You have to ask yourself, what do I want to do with the bike, and what am I actually going to do with it? And Brian, hit a good point there in that it may be a list of things. It may not just be one thing. So then, you've got to find something that's going to at least check most of those boxes. Or maybe you figure out, I want to do, cross country riding or big trips, but I also want to go ride gnarly off-road stuff. Might need two different bikes at that point.
Well, I think that's the thing of, especially why with my bike, I try to get it everything that fits into most of what I'm going to do, because while I would like 5 different motorcycles, I would find myself single.
I'm not going to say anything. I'm not, because I'll see Kathleen at some point, and I do not want her to smack me.